Hi guys, good morning.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Let me share the screen. Yeah. Able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So we are discussing about the topics called SNS and SQS. So in the first service, we have two topics are there. So one is topics, another one is subscriptions. So first thing is a topic is nothing but what type of event you are going to perform it. Just it will indicate one name for your name. Suppose you want to call the Lambda function, you want to check the status of the server. Like what action, what are the events you are going to perform it. So that can be defined a simple name for you. So as per AWS language, we are going to call it as a topic name. So with a single topic name, we can subscribe to multiple things. Just we are defining one topic name here. So calling Lambda function something. Lambda function execution. Something we are defining one. This is one topic name. This is my topic name. So it may be anything, just we are giving a name for your topic, but subscription is very important. So to whom you want to subscribe it. So one topic we can subscribe to multiple ways. So there are certain protocols are available. So you can subscribe to either email, you can call Lambda function, you can send SMS, you can HTTP URL like this. So multiple protocols will be supported. So you can create one topic name and you can subscribe to the one topic can be subscribed to multiple ways. For example, you got a lot of data. One data we got it. I want to process the data. So here everything is a UI based AWS. We don't have any processing kind of a data. We don't have it. So what are the data we are receiving? What are the server we are creating? What are the shutdown is happening? It's everything. It's a UI. We don't have any called processing the data. Certain data comes for your end. You are getting data from some devices. Okay, so what we need to do, so something if you want to process the data, if you want to save the data in the databases, that should be happened automatically, not manually. So what we will do, certain data we are getting with certain action is performed. So then you want to trigger anything. It may be you want to call a URL or you want to tell that, so some data is came to my end. You want to perform next action what you want to perform. So that can be notified via SMS. Just it acts as a notifier service, notifying it. So I got this data, I got this work has got it. So this action is performed it. So just my duty is I want to notify you. You want to call the Lambda function, which Lambda function you want to call it. Just I will tell the name of the Lambda. Then action part you take it. You want to send an email. So I got this data. I want to notify that. So I want to send an email. So my next action is sending the email. This data I got it like that. So here it acts as only notification kind of a thing. So whenever anything like you, if you recharge it, so recharge is done, but you want to get a notification like SMS, you'll get it. Your recharge is completed successful. You are getting notified certain action is performed. So you are doing the recharge through PhonePe, but through SMS you are getting a message like your recharge is successful. Here also SNS will be acting as a notification. It will not doing any work. It is notifying us like, so this action, next action has to be performed it. So how you configured it, just tell me how you can configure it based upon the configuration, what action you want to perform it. So to which service I want to notify it. So just it acts as a mediator for us. Okay. So here we have the main thing is one topic name will define it. It is user defined. User can define any topic and we can subscribe to anything. So single topic, we can subscribe to multiple ways. So these are all called as a protocols. We can set up to any kind of a protocol. So if you want to send a mail, you need to send the email. So if you are sending an email to which email address, to group of email address, if you want to do it, so we can do it. Okay. So if you want to call the Lambda function, for example, I got this data. Something like this data, I got it. Name equal to student details, roll number. So this is like a student data, I'm getting it. So I want to say whenever any data, whenever any registration form, they are entering the new registration form. So when you click on submit, this record has to be stored in the database. So certain action is performed, I want to call the Lambda function. So these type of events, what we will do, first we'll test manually this functionality. So if it is working, so then we need to put in the automation way. So like that, how we can create it. So now I'm going to create something like a simple topic name. You can create any topic name, standard or anything you can get. Topic name is testing. Just one topic name, I'm creating it. So this topic name, you want to create a subscription, we can create a subscription here. Otherwise, we can go to the subscription, create a subscription for your topic. So here we need to select the protocol. So you want to send the data to the queuing mechanism, you want to call the Lambda functions. What are the topic you have configured it? So just next action, what you want it. So this topic name, they have selected it to send a data. I got something like a JSON data, I got it. So what action I want to perform with this data I want to send to, just notify that. So this data I got it. You can send the notification, or I want to call the Lambda function automatically, not manual process. Whenever the new data comes, you can cut it. So if you want to even send to the this data to the queue, you can send to the queue. So for every name like SS, SQS, or SNS, IMA, anything you take it. So everything we can identify by using the ARN. Amazon resource name. So here also for the topic name, we have the topic ARN details are there. So with the help of this ARN only, we can do anything. So now I want to send an email. Email is just last class we have seen one email concept. So whenever you are sending email, that subscriber also should understand that. So whether we are doing the valid process or not. So if you are sending unknown person email address, so that the subscriber also has to be confirm the same thing. So here, this AWS is a separate service. Email, if you are aware of the coding part, so if you are going to send an email to one service to another service, this AWS is a separate one. So email is nothing but if you want to send an email, so generally we have SMTP details will be there. Like Gmail SMTP detail means smt.gmail.com, some TLS, SSL. Okay. So those things we need to configure it. Even if you want receiving a message from unknown person, so we have some security threats are there. So from AWS to email, we are not doing any configuration here. We are not setting any SMTP details or anything, but still this is email is Gmail service is separate service and AWS is separate, but still we are able to communicate each other. So AWS will take care about all the things from the backend part. So it is able to SMTP details of Gmail, everything it will be configured automatically and it will get a notification. So I'm getting this message means AWS has configured the Gmail settings, SMT Gmail settings. So any Gmail account, it able to accept and send the emails. So now if you click the confirm subscription, so once you do the subscription, automatically the status will be changed to refresh. Confirmed. So once we do the subscription confirm, so next onwards, no need to do it. If you are going to send any action on this particular topic, if you are writing any data, if you are doing any action, if you are selecting any topic name anywhere in any other services, so this protocol will work automatically. For example, this is my topic name. if we select this topic name, so here I'm passing one dummy message here, buying public message. The message name is for testing purpose. Any action is performed it. So now what are the data we are selling it? Same data I'm passing here. Select this. Just I'm passing the dummy message here. Any format, just click on. Okay. So message public to the topic successfully, automatically. You will get notification. So what data is coming? So from this topic, to which protocol you have subscribed it. For example, same data I want to pass to the Lambda function. So here, so first of all, we'll create the Lambda function. Then for the Lambda function, we have the Lambda errand details is there. So that function name we will select in the Lambda section. So whenever any data is comes, if you are subscribed to any Lambda function, so what will happen? This particular data, anybody is subscribed, anybody is sending this data to this particular topic. So which protocol you have sent it? So based upon that, it will be action performed it. So that is the main use of notification service. So if you are doing not only this one, we can subscribe to multiple things. Go to the subscription. So this is one subscription I have done for the email for the same topic name. So I can click on create subscription. So my topic is this one. This time I want to go with Lambda. We don't have any Lambda functions here. Time being. So if you any Lambda function you have created, just select the Lambda function name here. That's it. Click on create subscription. Okay. So then, so for the single topic, we can create a multiple subscriptions, not only one or two. So we can create these many subscriptions for the single topic name. I want to get a notification. I want to get email. I want to process something data through Lambda function. Okay. So all these protocols can be done with the help of notification. So this just is a notification service. What action is performed? So to which service you want to notify that I got this data. That's it. So I got this data, I'm getting through email. Same thing if you want to process the data, generally in the real-time scenario, they will go with email, Lambda function, and queue. Okay. So from this Lambda function, they will process the data and they will communicate to, again, other services. I want to put the data into the database. So they will connect to the database and they put to the data. I like that. So this is the way, just it is a help us to notify us or even any action is performed is. So the next action and which service you want to perform it. This can be notified via topic name and subscription. So in interview question also, they will ask about the what is the topic, what is meant by subscription. So in the subscription, what are the protocols is supported here. That's it. Okay. So just it's a notification service, it's get notified it. Okay. So this is the way we can do the SNS. So next thing is we have the same kind of a mechanism, queue mechanism. So queue mechanism generally it will be helpful for the developers or development team, you can call it as. So what exactly it will contains? It contains two types of queues. So one is standard and second one is FIFO. So what is meant by queue? So SQ stands for simple queuing services. Simple queuing services, nothing but here the main concept in the queuing, why the queuing concept is nothing but. So there are two things are there. So one is a producer and second one is consumer. So producer is nothing but, so we are sending a data, we are the people who are sending the data are sending the requests. Consumers are nothing but who are going to consume the data. So if you are getting a data from multiple ways, so this we consider as a producer one. It may be any, it may be a device, it may be a thing, anything, IoT thing, anything is there. So if you are getting it, sending a data, it may be a device. From application are getting data. So we are getting data from anyways. It may be a device, it may be application, it may be a website, anything you take it. So whichever who are sending a data, those are all people we are going to call it as a producers. These people are all called as producers. So here the sending of a data maybe happens in a second wise, minute wise, or hourly basis. It may be any kind of a data. For example, if we are considering as a second wise, 1 second from one device, I'm getting 1 lakh data. Second, not minute here. Even 1 second itself, they are getting 1 lakh of data from each publisher. So now within 1 second, this is able to send some lakhs of data. This is sending lakhs of data. This is sending lakhs of data. This is lakhs. So these are called producer. Producer sending a data from different kind of applications or backend, anything, things, anything you take it. So the person who is sending a request or who is sending a data to our application, so that will consider as a producer here. So whatever the data we are sending in any format, as a curl request or XML request, any type of request it is. So we need to consume the data, we need to process the data. So the person who is receiving the data, this we are going to call it as a consumers. Okay, so multiple producers, single consumer, or multiple producer, multiple conducers. Single producer, multiple conducers, one to one, one to many, many to many, many to one. So like that, we can go with any kind of a mechanism, but here we need to understand about the producer and concept. So if you are sending the 1 lakh of data from 4 devices, 4 applications, or anything backend services, anything. So we are getting a multiple data from the multiple producers, but we have only, for example, we have only single consumer is there. So it is able to process for 1 second. It is able to process only 2 lakhs of data. So remaining 2 lakhs of data, it will gone. Even if it is unable to process the 2 lakhs of data in 1 second, so in the next second, again 2 lakhs, 4 lakhs of data will get it. So every second they are sending a multiple lakhs of data, but this consumer is able to not able to process the data. So within the time seconds or time period. So what they have introduced for the development people, they have introduced the middle layer called queuing mechanism. Queuing mechanism, what will help us? So it will help us to store your data in the queue. So what are the data you are sending it? So I can store in a certain days, like 7 days, 14 days. I want to keep in the data like this. So these are anybody is sending the data 1 second or anything. So all the data will be stored in the queue. So the consumer will be consume the data whenever he required it, but he don't want to lose the data from the producers. How much data you send it? 1 lakh data. Okay, you send it here. So whenever I get the time, I can consume it. So here you send it lakhs of data, 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Every day you are sending lakhs of data. So I can put the data into the queue. It will be supported to the queue, and whenever the consumer is required, and here. So how much size of the data you want to send it? How much visibility time you required it? So how much the retention period you want to keep the message? So visibility time is this, how much visibility for the producer, consumer, all the details we can view the settings. So in the queuing mechanism, mainly we need to focus on the two things are there. So one is standard queue, another one is FIFO. So standard and FIFO both are sending the data, but here in the standard queue we don't have the guarantee of delivery of data, order of delivery of data. So what is meant by standard queue and FIFO queue? So when it comes to anybody sending the data, for example, in this my queue, the producer one sent the first data. So next he has sent the second data, third data, fourth data. But in the standard queue, the delivery of the data is fine. So 1, 2, 3, 4 data which is sent by the producer. So the consumer can pick the data, but we can't guarantee that in the standard queue. So whatever the order we have sent in the 1, 2, 3 format of the data, first data, second data, third data, fourth data. So we are able to consume the data, but we don't guarantee that. So whatever the order we have sent it, same order only we are going to receive it. So it may be like three, 4. So next we'll get the order 2, 1. So whatever the order we are sending in the first, second, third, fourth data. So first we have sent the producer has sent the data to the first data he has sent it. So next he will send the second data. So next he will send the third data. So producer fourth will send the fourth data. But while receiving also it should be happen like first data which we send it, we can receive the first data, second data, second, third data, third, fourth data, third. But in the standard queue, what they happen? So you will get the delivery of data. 1, 2, 3, 4 messages you will receive by the consumer, but we can't guarantee that whatever the order of the data we are sending it, we don't expect that same kind of order will be received. Okay, but in the FIFO queue, so whatever the order we are sending it, same order, you are sending 1 lakh of data. So for each data, what is the sequence order you are following in? Same sequence we will get in the FIFO queue. So first in, first out. First is in, first out means what are the first data we are sending it? So that will come in the first output. So same sequence order, it will get it. What are the data you are sending it? 1. So next data, 2. So next data, 3. Next data, 4. So like that, if you are going with the queuing mechanism, so first in, first out, if you take it, so we will get the delivery of the messages will be the same. What is the sequence of the order? So in the real-time scenarios, if you don't want to lose the data, for example, you are getting the weather report. Every second we'll get the report 22.4 from different in India, different locations will get the weather report. Every second it will change the report. You want to capture all the reports and you want to show somewhere in the UI. You want to read the data. So what is the first we have sent it? First only we need to receive it. So in that cases, what they will go? So they will go with FIFO. So FIFO and standard, same naming conventions, we can go and create it. So just we'll go and create the SPS. Okay, so here just we'll create the queue. Standard means message ordering is not preserved. Whatever the order you are sending it, we are getting the messages of data. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 10th data you are sending means I can expect the first data is 7th data, 6th data, 5th data. There is no sequential order will be available in the standard queue. But when it comes to the FIFO, so message delivering will be okay. So in the real-time scenario, most of the people will go to the FIFO. So only the difference is the naming convention is, so whenever you're creating the FIFO, the extension should be .FIFO. That's it. For standard queue, we don't require to pass .echo. That is only the difference. So if you're creating a queue, select it, will create it. So if you're selecting the FIFO, just will append the FIFO. If you are appending the .FIFO means, so it will tell that it is a FIFO queue. First in, first out. Just they will give the one mechanism name. So here the configuration is very important. So how many days you want to keep this data into the queue? So what is the size of the data? How much visibility? So when you want to delete the data, how many days you want to delete it, even if it is not processed it. For example, I'm keeping the data in 30 days. Still this data is not consumed by the consumer. He is not able to process the data. So we are telling that after these many days, so whenever you are putting it in the queue, the date of creation, so we can also put the retention period. So after these many number of days, you want to delete the data. So that mechanism we can do. All the settings we can put here. So maximum size we can should be see 1 KB to other. Maximum retention period we can keep up to 14 days. So we can keep the data maximum up to 14 days. So minimum is 4, maximum is 14. So if you want to don't know process has been data has been done, so we can put in the 14 days. So what are the data we are seeing here? If you're not able to process the data, so we can see after 14 days, we can delete the data. So visibility timeout. So how much time you want to visible the messages for the producer in putting into the queue. Okay. So delivery delay, how much delay you want to keep it for the one message to another message that want to deliver it to your consumer. So this is wait time. How much wait time should be awaited for the next message should be received. So that you can put it as many number of times delivered. Okay. So here, this is the one. If you want to apply any policy for the queue mechanism, whom we want to access it, so we can apply the queue. So just we'll apply the queue. Okay. So this URL is very important. So this URL we will hand over to the development team. So this is my queue URL, FIFO URL. So the developers will configure it. Our producers will share this URL to the producers. So they keep on sending the messages to the queue. So what we will do, what are the data we are getting in the queue? So through Lambda function or anything. So whenever data comes to the queue, so we will trigger the Lambda and we'll process the data. So whenever a new data is passed, so we are going to write a logic in the Lambda function and we are processing the data and saving the data or sending the data to another thing. So we will do it. So how can we test it? Means how much data they are sending it. So here you can see, so whenever they are putting it, so we can see the queue mechanism. So how many messages are available? Messages in flight means how many messages have been processed. Okay, so this URL we will give to the development, they will keep on sending the messages. So even if they have the multiple producers, they will configure their end this URL and they will keep on sending the messages to the queue. So once they're able to send the messages, you can see messages are available here. So you have 0 messages. So send and read to test this functionality, whether it is working or not. So either we are triggering the Lambda function. First, we'll do the manual test, whether it is working or not. So we will click on send and receive messages. What are the message body you want to have it? We can put any messages. Same message, you can take it. So one message ID will give it. Send message. So one message has been sent to be received. So we will go to the test queue mechanism, refresh it. Okay. So now messages are nothing are available. Just we'll have to purge means. So it will receive all the messages. So just click on the purge, it will receive all messages. Just to go to the queue and check it. Let me send multiple messages. Okay. Now you can see. So once you click on the poll for messages, so what are the messages are available? It will retrieve it and it will show in the body. What are the details we have seen? We can see it. So now if you send multiple messages, same message you are sending multiple times. Send a message like that. You are sending multiple messages. So that will be the queue. So just click for the poll for the messages. So we can see receive count is 2. So this will be mainly useful for the development. So they will send a data to the particular queue for storing the data temporarily. Okay, so for that one, we are using the queuing mechanism. So what are the data we are sending it? So that will be stored in the queue. So for the consumer which we are receiving, so the consumer may be anything. It may be a Lambda function and anything. So just it will be, this is the account, it will test like this. Logically, we are not doing anything here. So just what we are doing, it acts as a one type of a service. It helpful for the developers. So who are sending a large amount of data. So temporarily we are storing the data into the one queue. So this is the queue. We are going to create it. So based how you want to deliver the messages. So based upon that, we are going to set that. For example, always we are processing the data in a particular format. Something like name equal to student, roll number equal to these two values are we are dynamically expecting. So what are the JSON format it is expecting it. So if the format is wrong, so we are getting invalid data. So we are not, what are the expecting things which are not getting as properly. Like this, we are getting the key name. So whatever the data we are getting wrongly, and if it is unable to process by the consumer, so to identify the root cause for the issue, so what we will do, what are the failed messages we are there? So we are going to, they have introduced one more concept called dead letter. So what is meant by dead letter queue is nothing but, so it is also one type of a queue. So just we'll select the one queue name, how we are creating the standard queue and FIFA queue. So the naming conventions, we can give any name. So here, when we are processing the data, here we can configure in the main queue, we can configure the dead letter queue. So this dead letter queue, what we will do? So for example, I have sent 100 messages from my producer. Out of the 90 got processed successfully. And 10 got failed. So what we will do? So this, what are the 10 messages got failed? So these 10 messages we want to capture it to identify the root cause, why these messages are failed. Okay, so to understand it, whether we have sent the invalid data format. So what are the format of the data they're expecting it? So I have sent invalid data. So to identify the root cause of the issues of the messages, they don't want to miss the messages. They keep on trying to read the messages by the consumers, either through Lambda function or anything. So they are unable to process it. They will throw an error messages that we are unable to read this particular data. So in that cases, what we can do, so we can configure one dead letter queue and we can tell that if there is a problem in the processing of the data, we can send the data to the dead letter queue. So same thing, we can create the queue here. Queues. So we will create one queue here. Name we will give as a dead letter queue. Okay. So now if you want to configure the same, so this my queue, edit it. Here we have the option dead letter queue. Okay, so you can see here, send undeliverable messages to the dead letter queue. So if any messages are undeliverable, means undeliverable is nothing but the format of the data is not correct. Either consumer is not able to understand the data, is unable to process the data, while processing the data, it got failed. Logical wise not, the format of the data is not low. So what we can do, so we can enable the dead letter queue and we can tell that, so if any there is a problem with the, so we need to pass the ARN details. This is the ARN. Just select the ARN. That's it. Save it. Okay, so it should be the same. Save it. So in the real-time scenario, they will go with like this mechanism. They don't want to lose the data. So what they will do, so they will create a queues. Okay, so standard we can go it, otherwise FIFA queue unit. So this is my original FIFO. So anything not able to process the data, what we will do? So we will send to the data. Okay, you can see the messages are available one. So we can go to the send and receive messages, hold for messages. So what are the data which is there here? So we are manually processing it, but in the real-time scenario, whenever data comes, so we can configure this for Lambda functions. Okay, so how you do it in the Lambda functions, I will tell you. See. Okay, now once you purge it, so the messages in the flight also will go off. Here you can subscribe to the Lambda function. So whenever any data comes into this queue, so we can configure the Lambda function here. Either any data comes into the queue also, you can subscribe to the SNS topic. Subscribe to SNS topic. AR and details of your topic name if you enter. So whenever any new data comes here, automatically based on your configuration of which protocol you have selected it, either through we can do it SNS, or if you don't want to go with SNS, so we can also do it Lambda. So certain action is performed. So the next action, what you want to perform in it, so that we can do it. Okay. So now how to test it Lambda, we can see it. So these two topics are clear. Notification and queuing service, very simple, very small.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So next thing is we have very important. So only one coding module in AWS coding. So the persons who are not really from non-IT background or any persons, so we need to little bit focus on only one model. So that is Lambda functions. So Lambda is nothing but, so it's complete deals with your coding part. We don't have any coding mechanism till now. If you see IMA, S3, EC2, VPC, load balancer, auto scaling. So we don't have any kind of a coding. Everything is a concept based and UI based only. Just configurations will do it. So based upon we are going to set up the entire infrastructure, application deployment, server setups, everything we are doing through things. Okay, cloud formation templates, anything you say. So, but if you want to process something based upon the data, somebody hit the URL, somebody is sending the data, something payload they are sending it. So you want to process the data. So for processing purpose, we are going to use one coding module in AWS. So that is completely with your Lambda. So whenever any person is talking about the Lambda function means it's completely deals with your coding. It may be any.
So this Lambda coding, it's specifically for processing the data,
yes,
not
processing
to
the
create
data.
not to create the instances or something, managing the AWS account.
Anything. So we have three activities are there, right? So we can perform three activities, one through CLI, one through SDK. So next thing is through console. So software development kit is nothing but so through coding. So here SDK is separate development kit that AWS is providing, and through coding, if you want to do it through Lambda function, also we can create a EC2. We can create a SNS topic. We can create a queue mechanisms. Anything if you want to perform through coding, through how you are doing through console, everything UI. So if you are really interested in the coding part, so we can go and do the setups and manual works, what we are doing it. So we can do through automation kind of work. So here, if you want to know the Lambda function, so generally the people will, it is called as a serverless architecture. So every company is preferring now, don't want to go with a server creation. They don't want to go with a server creation. They want to go with a serverless architecture. So what is meant by serverless architecture? For example, I have a Java code is there. So I want to run the Java code. So what we require? I require a system or a server, we can call it as. In that server, Java compiler should be there. Then I can place the code here. I will place the code in my server. I will run the code. So here, when it comes to the serverless architecture, there is no setup of these things. No need to launch the server, no need to set up the Java, no need to push the code into the server and no need to run the code here. So predefinedly, AWS will set up the server for us. So just deploy your code. What type of a code it is? A Python code. Just select the Python compiler from my list. I will connect to the wherever Python got installed it. I will execute your code in my Python server and I will give the results for you. So no need to set up any kind of a server here. No need to set up the server here. So that's why it is called as a serverless architecture. So you want to test your Python code. Just write the code in your local and upload the code here. You need to just upload the code here and select my compiler as Python. That's it.
So then in that scenario, from which server it is going to execute that code?
It is taken care by the AWS. So just you select the compiler. What compiler you require? It is a Java means which Java version you want to run it by code. Java 1.8 and 1.7. Select the compiler name here. So it will automatically connect to your backend Java server and it will execute the code and it will result for you. So no need to set up an entire server setup. No need to do that. Just what type of a code you want to run it, just select the compiler from the list. So it supported a lot of program language. If you are good at anything, Java, .NET, Python, Node.js, Angular, JavaScript, Go-to. Okay, so these many programming languages it will be supported. So if you're good at any one of the programming language, so we can choose any one of the language. So in the real-time scenario, most of the cases will be so they will ask you these things. So did you work on a Java programming? Did you know having the basic knowledge of Python? Go to language, Node.js. Okay, so if you are know about one language, we can easily understand the other language also, because same kind of a services we are going to work it. So only the syntax wise it will be little bit different. Okay, so any one of the programming language if we are good at, so then only we can perform this Lambda function. So without having any programming language like classes, objects, functions, variables, definitions, looping concepts, control statements, for loops, while loops. Okay, converting the list to the JSON, JSON to the object, object to the JSON format. So these type of things, if you know, then only we can perform the coding. Otherwise, so you can skip the coding part in the real-time scenario. But in the worst cases, you need to implement means, so just we need to know about the debugging process. So line by line, we need to debug our process, and next step one need to perform, we need to see it. So here the Lambda function mainly used for processing the data, or if you want to perform any action in AWS services, so just what type of action you want to performing it, so we can do with the help of AWS services. For example, I want to create one EC2 server. So Lambda function does not know about your EC2 server. So first of all, you need to take the permissions from Lambda to which service you want to perform it. Suppose I want to put the logs in the CloudWatch. I want to create one topic name. I want to put data into the queue mechanism. I want to insert the data into the database. So how many services you want to communicate through coding? All the things we will perform, we will create with one type of a role. That role will help us like, so the policies which you define in the role, so we'll tell that how to which all services you want to communicate it. Okay, so first step is, so if you go for the Lambda, so if you are going to see the Lambda, so here we have called as the Lambda functions. So if you click on create a function, first thing is what is your function name? Okay, so something we are taking that insert data to database. So one name I'm giving it. So you want to run this function or this logical part into which compiler? Okay, so .NET 6, .NET Core 3, Go-to language, Java 11, Node.js, Python, Ruby. These many things are there. Okay, so these many programming languages is supported. So previously JavaScript is there, Node.js is there, AngularJS, these are there, but JavaScript I'm not able to see here. So, but previously JavaScript also it is supported. They have removed it, I think. So they have deprecated it. So currently they have supporting .NET, Java,
So this
Node.js.
Lambda is region based and not global?
It's region based.
Okay.
Okay. So even if you want to communicate with all the regions also with a single Lambda function, we can do it. Okay. So how to do it, I will tell you. Okay. So this is like we will create one Lambda function name, and this is the runtime compiler. So I have written compiler like Node.js programming it. So just we will upload the code here. What are the code you want to write it? Just write the Node.js code. It will compile the Node.js code. So if you are choosing Python, we can write the Python code. So now I'm selecting as a Python. So in the advanced default role. So this role is very important because if you want to communicate from Lambda to WithChar service, I want to perform EC2 operations. So then we need to create one IAM role with EC2 permissions. So I want to put the logs. What are the data we are getting it? I want to capture the each and every log. So CloudWatch will help us to capture the logs. I want to put the data into the database. So database related permissions we want to get it. So all the permissions or all the services will create one IAM role, and we will attach the IAM role to a Lambda function like this. Okay, so this is one of the role we have created long back. So if you want to create one more role, we will create one more new role, and we will attach this role to which all the services you want to communicate through coding part. So what are the function you are writing? What are the logical part? What are the coding part you are writing it? In that, which are the services you are going to communicate it? So for all the services, we need to attach the services. For example, you are writing EC2. EC2 policy, we need to attach it. In the IAM role, in the policy section, we need to select the EC2 service. Under the EC2, what set of permissions you want to create it. If you want to create an EC2 service, server creation, we need to give the permissions. If you want to take the backup of volumes, we can take the backup, creating volumes, snapshots, load balancer, autoscale, what are the things will comes under the EC2, which are the permissions you wanted, we can do it. So if you want to capture the logs, what are the processing I'm doing it. So if it is not able to process it, what is the error you want to see? So generally will go with CloudWatch. CloudWatch is a monitoring tool, or we can capture the logs here. So if you want to put any database like RDS, if you want to capture data into the database. So for this, all these services will create one IAM role. So the whom all services we are going to communicate it, all the services we will identify the role, and that role we will attach it. So if you're not attaching this IAM role, so even if you're writing the logic, it will not work. So which the Lambda function don't have any permissions to run or communicate with other services. Okay, so this example we will see in the tomorrow's class. Okay, exhibition part. Okay, any doubts? Any questions?
Yep, good.
Chalo, bye guys.
Shan, hello.
Yeah.